Hello and welcome back to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is September 13th, 2017. This is a special episode of the PowerSwitch. Normally we'd have a very structured, segmented show where we'd go through our headlines, games we're playing recently, we'll get to the callers. Now, that'll stay the same. We got to get your reactions as you call in, almost like it were a sports talk and radio show, but for games. But today we're specifically talking about the Nintendo Direct that just happened. I mean, we're literally coming off, 10, 15 minutes after his recording. This is almost like how we reacted to E3 2017. We're going to watch it. I'm going to run through what happened very quickly. I'm going to give it a grade, and then we're going to pass it over to you, the callers. We'll go through a few callers, kind of get your big takeaways, grades, things that you thought were missing. Should be a good time, really driven by your feedback. So let's get right into it. We're going to recap the Direct rather quickly. So first of all, I think what was really important with this Direct was its structure. They talked right off the bat that there are going to be 4 big highlighted games filled in with headlines. And we've seen that headline sort of run down in the past, and you had some mixed impressions on it, but I think they did a pretty good job with kind of keeping the new announcements a secret, kind of vague hints really with the question marks, but I think it was really well paced where you spread out the big announcements and then the headlines. It's just the perfect pacing. So I think they've started to kind of figure out what works well for a Direct. I think the structure and pacing were probably the best parts of it. That was probably my biggest takeaway through it all. But let's talk about those big announcements. Start right off with Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And we kind of needed a big sell on this one. I think it kind of fell short a little bit. The big topics were, I guess Necrozma is the big legendary that is going to be fusing, almost like Kyurem fused with the legendaries, with Reshiram and Zekrom back in Gen 5. Well, now he's fusing with Solgaleo and Lunala for special forms for this version. So kind of some similarities there. They're really pushing Lycanroc and with the Dusk form if you pre-order it early. I think it was interesting that they brought up, Gold and Silver, the Virtual Console versions that are coming. You get Celebi with that. But otherwise, when you're just saying that, you'll see new events and new things and you wear new clothes, I'm still not really sold. I mean, maybe we'll get a copy just to keep it going, but I'm not that excited for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I don't know what it is. I mean, for Sun and Moon, you could have argued that there was too much hype really behind it and we saw too much going into it, but now it's not enough. I think they got to try to find and strike the balance for when the Pokemon game comes to Nintendo Switch. But yeah, this one they're going to have a new Pokeball, designed 3DS or 2DS really, coming November 3rd, a couple weeks before. If you pre-order, you get some quick balls. Great, fine, good, all right. I like also how they started with a lot of the 3DS news. Get the 3DS news out of the way. It took overall about 10 minutes, and then you ran through all of the Switch news. So some of the headlines then, you had Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga and Bowser's Minions. That's coming October 6th. We saw some of that during E3. Kirby Battle Royale. No, Kirby's not doing PUBG, as amazing as that would be. Kirby Battle Royale is a game, a Kirby multiplayer game for 3DS that was going to be for the end of this year, was kind of teased a while back. And so we kind of knew that the overall game existed, but not what it was called, not what it looked like. Kirby Battle Royale, January 19th at the start of next year. For Yokai Watch 2 Psychic Specters, it's the equivalent of Pokemon Crystal Emerald, that third ultimate version. That's coming at the end of this month, September 29th. Layton's Mystery Journey, Catriel and the Millionaire's Conspiracy. What a awfully long title. That they're talking it as the 7th Layton game. And I haven't gotten to it on mobile yet. Maybe I'll get a try on 3DS because I really do love the Layton games. But, this is supposed to be Layton's daughter. So October 6th for that one on 3DS. You get a Flora costume. So that's a good, throwback to those who have played Layton games there. Minecraft on new Nintendo 3DS. That's out today. I think of all the versions of Minecraft, I don't know why you'd want to play on new 3DS unless you're a kid and that's the only means you have possible. But out of all the other platforms, Minecraft is on, I think it's good to see it on new 3DS, but it's like the same way like you get a Vita version. Okay, you can play it there, but are you really going to limit yourself to that? But, a cool announcement nonetheless. Probably the best 3DS announcement, I would say, was Mario Party, the top 100. Curating the top 100 best Mario Party games in a download play sort of setting where only one player needs the card and then 4 players can participate. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, when's the Switch version coming? Honestly, this is another one of those really great ideas, just like Mario Super, the sports compilation with the 4 sports games. Fantastic. Good to have it on 3DS. Now, let's get it on Switch. I'm going to wait for that announcement before I jump in, but a fantastic idea, one that's been long overdue coming, but good that they're thinking about that in November 10th for that game. Metroid Samus Returns on September 15th. Of course, we've seen a lot of that at E3. Good reviews going out for that, high 80s on Metacritic. Very excited for that game. Then an Etrian Odyssey 5 demo is out today. They're also talking about, Shin Megami Tensei, Strange Journey, Redux, the Radiant Historia kind of port upgrade from the DS version. That's also coming out. Same thing with Apollo Justice and Fire Emblem Warriors. Just really quick hits that yep, these games are coming. And then an Orange and White 2DS XL, October 6th. It's kind of the creamsicle look there. Fair enough. Fine. Keep selling it while the 3DS still has life. My big takeaway, I'm still not sold on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon there, and I love the idea of Mario Party, the top 100, but bring it to Switch. We really need that. Then they kind of went through the whole direct and talked about Switch games, starting off with the second game in their focus, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I kind of droned out the old man voice doing the talking, the Titan that accompanies Rex. And I'm just like, man, that soundtrack is fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry, what's the old guy saying? I mean, look, the game looks great. The game looks massive. It's cool that it takes place on these Titans, these living beings. The worlds have these different sort of environments. It's going to be a great game. It felt like the duration of that, it could have maybe been its own direct. I like the idea of focusing on certain games, but the duration kind of worried me, and then the presenting voice did not keep my attention. It's going to be great. December 1st, we did get that release date, committing, at least in North America, it does not slip until 2018. I'm surprised, but it's good that they've been committing for so long that December 1st, yes, it does have a special edition. Yes, it has a Pro controller, which that looks pretty snazzy as well. Splatoon 2, Kelp Dome is a new stage coming this Friday. Also, Snapper Canal will be a new stage, and the Tentabrella weapon. Now, a lot of these were covered by a data sort of deep dive. Some people were kind of hacking the data and sort of found that these were there. So it's good to see that they're going to be rolling out those updates for Splatoon 2. Fire Emblem Warriors confirming Lyn as a playable character, October 20th for that game. Snipper Clips Plus, it's on November 10th. They're putting out a new version of Snipper Clips in physical and digital. 30 more puzzles, they were saying, a new way where old puzzles you can have random body parts or body shapes spawned to kind of put a little twist on that. A good thing that it's a DLC version as well. If you have the original game, just add on that for a little tack. So that's good for Snipper Clips. Cut it out together. Murphy's Law was that game from a couple. Was it even just that last Nindies game? Yeah, it was from that last Nindies Direct where it's the shooter where you have the two big titans and they grow based on the body parts that shrink when they're shot. Interesting that they're giving that a big push. I guess they're giving a first-person shooter needs that kind of genre representation on Switch, and might as well with the Nindies there. Rocket League Holiday. I was expecting a date. Good to show that they're showing off the new carts, but commit to the date. Don't just say Holiday 2017. And Murphy's Law, by the way, Winter 2017. Odd that they say that, not just Holiday. So maybe that's like the very end of 2017 there. Arena of Valor is a MOBA game from Tencent. Now, Tencent is big in China. So this is kind of a big deal that this is making its way to Nintendo Switch. Granted, if you're into MOBA, check that out. They were trying to drop all sorts of the First Blood, double kill, all that. Yeah, MOBAs on Switch. Get it done. Like, if it's not for you, then maybe move it along. But do note it's a big deal. Tencent, big deal in China, trying to bring that to Nintendo Switch. Beta coming this winter. So, of course, Skyrim. We knew about Skyrim November 17th. Date. Done. Good. Now, the talk for a while was that Bethesda, Pete Hines saying, well, we may have some more ports coming, just saying, oh, maybe I spoke too soon. I don't know. And a lot of people were thinking, yeah, Fallout 4. I mean, I threw out a big boss prediction on Twitter. I'd say we'd get a Skyrim release date and Fallout 4. Nope. The biggest surprise of the entire show, Doom coming this holiday, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, 2018. Now, for a lot of people to just say, oh, this is just going to be ports of PS3 games that can come to Switch, kind of rewrites the rules a little bit. Like, if you're willing to put in the effort, maybe more is possible. So I think definitely the big, announcement of the show was this, Doom and Wolfenstein 2. When we were thinking that, which third parties would support Nintendo Switch, we were saying, oh, it's going to be a lot of the Japanese third parties. Westward, I don't know, EA, Ubisoft, Activision, might not. Bethesda, going strong. That's really impressive. I'm kind of amazed by that, and I think many were too. Flip Wars, which is out now, they're getting an update that's free, kind of butt bouncing on a board, flipping tiles, 4-player, multiplayer action. If that's your thing, go for it. Arcade Archives seems to be a new series that Nintendo's rolling out with, versus NES games. And they started with Mario Brothers on September 27th here, but they seem to be talking about, there's Super Mario Brothers versus, and then Ice Climber and Balloon Fight, and they showed a bit with, Super Punch-Out. I think that was that game in particular. Makes me think of, what the original plans for Virtual Console were, that, some of these games would be designed for multiplayer or kind of retrofitted for multiplayer. I wonder if there are any, statements, since we're recording so shortly after the Direct, what is the deal with that? And we still have yet to hear, of course, about Virtual Console, but I doubt we will until after the Super Nintendo Classic has started to run its course and the sales have started to pass there. But that was really intriguing. Breath of the Wild, the Champions amiibo. Could have sworn it would be a sure thing that we'd see a trailer, at least detailing that DLC, and maybe that's not hitting holiday, because the best that they can show is just, the amiibo, they drop weapons and items and they give you headgear, they have features, but we can't tell you, and those amiibo are coming out November 10th. Why not detail that DLC pack, the Champions Ballad? Is that not ready? A little curious by that. Of course, yes, big for sports games. NBA 2K18, WWE 2K18, FIFA 18, Pokken Tournament DX coming out in the next couple months. And then the third highlighted game, an RPG from Square Enix. Let's take a look. I'm thinking, it's going to be Project Octopath Traveler. All right, let's check it out. Oh yeah, we're seeing it's that Bravely Default look. It's the pixelated look, what they called HD 2D, or 2D HD. I think it's a fitting name for the look. I think it's a pretty interesting look. They're kind of taking, past Square Enix RPG success and really blending it into that 3D space pretty well. All right, I'm intrigued. Bravely Default developers, like, that's a good pedigree. All right, build up. What's the name? Tell us the name. What is the name of the game? Project Octopath Traveler. You don't even have a final title? You don't. It's just this. It's still a working title. You want it to be worldwide release in 2018, and it's still Project Octopath Traveler. The dumbest name from that Switch reveal event. It's still that. Unbelievable. I mean, great. The game looks fantastic, I think, so far. Just from early impressions. The demo is out now, so give it a try if you want. But man, if you want to start, branding and getting the name recognition out there, and you want to get a survey, fine, after the demo, don't have it still be called Project Octopath Traveler, man. Come on. ARMS got the update. They're just reinforced from Gamescom. You have the Lollipop character. You have custom controls. That's a long time coming for that. But good that the update is out basically now after the Direct. Dragon Quest Builders. I almost could have sworn that was been announced for some time, but that's spring 2018. A lot of the recaps of the Nindies. So the Golf Story. You had Steam World Dig 2. You had Super Meat Boy Forever. A lot of those, if you did not see the Nindies Direct there. Lost Sphere is the RPG for January 23rd. Sonic Forces, of course, November 7th. That's been out there. Also, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 coming in a package on November 28th for Nintendo Switch. And, the big story for Rockstar supporting Nintendo Switch, L.A. Noire on November 14th. Finishing up with Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, that game is going to be a tour de force. There's no other way to put it. Showing the new worlds of Shiveria, which is the snow world, and Bubblaine, which is kind of the beach world where the water is almost as carbonated. Ooh. Of course, October 27th, the photo mode is going to be a pretty cool deal. I like how they're thinking, could be wallpaper for your computer, for your phone. That's thinking pretty outside the box. Photo modes have kind of caught on in some of the bigger games this year. I'm glad that it's going to seem to work very well in Mario Odyssey. And of course, a Switch bundle that's going to be huge for the holiday season, getting the red Joy-Cons and the carrying case. So overall, a lot to put in that Direct. 45 minutes, double the time for E3. I think, the headlines really started clipping through the announcements. I'd say overall, I'm going to give it a B+. I want to give it points for, I think this is the right kind of format to go forward if you have a lot to cover, whether it's like a quarterly or, half a year sort of thing. This is the right format to go. But none of the really big announcements. I mean, yeah, Bethesda, that's a big deal. That scores major points. Just a lot covered, though. I think that's really the breadth of it all. And, the format was great. But yeah, it was missing those big announcements to bring it up to an A. And, granted, the games they highlighted, yeah, I'm not sold on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but those other ones, I think those are the right games to target for sure. Those are going to be their big ones coming up, except for Octopath Traveler. Like, that'll be next year. But yeah, definitely this holiday is going to be defined by Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on 3DS, and then it's Xenoblade and Mario Odyssey. That's going to be really, really big on Switch. So that's what I have to say. When we come back, we will get to the callers. What do you think? Love to hear what you thought. What was your favorite announcement from the show? What was missing from that? I think we can talk about Smash Brothers as well. That'll be certainly something to talk about. And really anything else is on the table there. That's when we come back here on the Power Switch. Welcome back to the Power Switch. So let's get to the callers here. Lots to talk about with the Nintendo Direct. Really, we're just coming off of this. I know even Japan had 5 minutes extra. Maybe they could have talked about Mario and Rabbids. I don't know. Could have spent some time looking at all the different reporting, but really wanted to get to this initial reaction from you, the callers. So let's get right into it. Joining us from Michigan, Scott. Welcome back to the Power Switch. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, Pete. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. You were here with our E3 2017 coverage, so I think it was only fitting to have you kind of start off the proceedings of what seems like a kind of mini E3 for Nintendo when they had such a long presentation and so much to cover. What were your big takeaways from this Direct that we're just fresh off of?
I definitely agree with you in terms of the fact that the format I thought was rock solid. I really like how they did that with a bunch of with a focus of 4 or so big titles that they want to go deeper into, followed by shorter clips of other titles. I think this is a great format that they should take going forward. In terms of the 3DS, I'm in the same boat as you with Ultra Sun and Moon. It feels just like a time waster or something to last people until the Switch Pokemon comes out. They didn't do a lot to really show why it's supposed to, why should I care about this alternate retelling of Sun and Moon? Minecraft, yeah, I mean, if you have a young kid that you've just given a 2DS to, I think that'll be a good intro game, for young people that have just gotten the 3DS.
But that's probably really the only audience for it.
Right. I think it's a very narrow audience considering all the other platforms with mobile devices and tablets and everything else on it. I think it is going to be a narrow market. Mario Party Top 100, cool idea. Should be on Switch, I think. Mm-hmm. The Atlas stuff, I love me some Atlas. None of these were surprises because Atlas themselves had announced all these were being localized about a month or so ago.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's cool. Apollo Justice, we knew that was getting a 3DS port. I don't think they announced it for the West until today. So, okay, cool. I also called the new 2DS XL the creamsicle color.
Nice.
In terms of the Switch, way too much time spent on Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah, it felt like its own, direct separate from the direct.
Yes, they should have ended it right in the initial trailer where they were talking about the different kingdoms, and then had the release date at the end of that, and not have Gramps talk to you and go in. That felt very its own direct to me, where they went into the battle systems and things like that. That's like the normal format they seem to do with specific Nintendo Directs.
So I totally get the strategy. If you're going to have all of those eyes on that direct, maybe people don't know what Xenoblade Chronicles is. Why is it a big deal? What are the battle systems like? Now, if I'm guessing correctly, having not played, at least the first Xenoblade Chronicles, but the switching between the three blades or like that seems like a new sort of mechanic for how much they were at least digging into it. So I'm guessing that while they had all those eyes, they're trying to get prospective and possible sales. If you put it in its own direct, not everyone would care.
Right. I think it's with it being much more anime in appearance as opposed to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Chronicles X. I think it is going to be a much more of a niche title for the Switch, and I think Nintendo realizes that, so they sprinkled it in for the beginning of their Switch segment on this. I think it was a smart idea. I do think it was too long, though.
It's a really weird thought, but something that occurred to me was during the Direct was that if they were talking about like, the crux of the story is Rex finding Pyra and delivering her to Elysium, and like that's the big narrative thrust, and they're like, oh, crazy, what do for a girl? Then why would a mechanic be to possibly swap out Pyra? Like I get, mixing and matching and trying all these blades and seeing what works. I mean, if Pyra has to stay in the party, fair enough. But if she can possibly be taken out, then that kind of loses the main focus of the story. Just a thought that occurred to me while watching.
No, I agree, and I think it's strange how they named it this magical MacGuffin that everyone needs is the Aegis. I think they're just passing up on an opportunity of calling it the Monado from the first game. Not necessarily that it has to be a direct continuation or anything, but it's like, have that be like a cool Easter egg. Like people know, okay, the Monado is this like big, crazy, special thing. I mean,
watch it turns out to be like an Easter egg that like, the Aegis is really the Monado from the past or whatever. Just watch it be that.
Or one of the Blade Maidens or whatever they are turns into a Monado weapon. I could see something like that for sure. Doom and Wolfenstein, it's cool, I guess, that they're coming out, but I don't know anyone who's like really excited for those games. That would be like, oh, I have to get on Switch, because they know just the tech wise, like those games, one of the big draws is because they look so good. So Doom and Wolfenstein are going to be like, I want to play Doom set on the lowest settings wherever I go. I mean, it's cool that they're putting their money behind it with Bethesda and everything, and I'm glad they're doing it. Fallout would have been a better step, because those are games like in Skyrim, I can see myself taking them on the go because there's so much time and stuff you can do, and you like can craft on the go or stuff like that. But with such single player focused, especially Wolfenstein, which is only single player, I don't think those will do super well, but it's cool that I guess they're being there.
Yeah, and I'm all for, games being played everywhere. But of course, when we have our choices and we're spoiled for choice, we're going to play those games on the best systems that we have available to us. Now, for some people, that may not be the case, or if you're just getting into it, and it's like, oh, I've heard of this new Doom game, let me give it a try. So I'm glad the availability is there. Now, I hope that Bethesda doesn't look at those games and they look at the sales for that and see it's much lower than the other ones. That means we can't support it. I don't want them to reach that conclusion.
No,
especially when you're seeing the indies lately. You're seeing so many stories like Oceanhorn, I think was one of them, that kind of Zelda take on Zelda. They're saying like it's outsold Switch compared to every other platform combined. Like it's selling best on Switch. Like that's good to see for specific games. But
I think the Switch is going to become the indie powerhouse.
For
Like,
sure,
I can
for
see
sure.
that's going to be where it really gets prestige.
Mhm.
It's just all the indie games that come out for it.
Yeah, but Doom and Wolfenstein was definitely like the yo moment of the direct. Like that was a big deal.
See, for me, Project Octopath was my big moment because I was, out of all the things I was expecting to see from this direct, that was nowhere on my radar, let alone to have a demo released of it.
Yeah.
I agree with the names, but if this is still a year or so out, I just remember the Kirby and Yoshi game. They didn't have names at E3, and they're coming out spring. So, okay.
Oh, yeah. How did I totally skipped over that one in the rundown? Yeah, Kirby Star Allies.
Star Allies.
Like that has a name. It's spring 2018, but that's the Kirby game from E3, and that's a few months turnaround. But yeah, we got to wait more time for Project Octopath Traveler.
It's Square, though. They do weird things. Maybe the final title will be Project Octopath Traveler. Who knows?
HD Remix 1.5.
Yeah, default. But yeah, Dragon Quest Builders had been announced, but it was only announced for Japan. That's probably where you heard it.
Yep.
So now that that's cool. It's like a Minecraft Dragon Quest-y. I'm really surprised we didn't hear about the 3DS version of Dragon Quest 11 in the 3DS.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was expecting that. I was kind of hoping for that. But I'm curious if we will get the 3DS version, if Sony is putting money behind the PS4 port. It's going to be interesting to see. But Kirby Star Allies looks like a lot of fun. The co-op and everything, it looks enjoyable. But I have to say, with Super Mario Odyssey, I'm not a huge fan of the more realistic-looking environments.
Interesting.
I miss the more Mushroom Kingdom-y kind of exaggerated proportions and things like that. Like Metro Kingdom or Metro Zone or whatever it's called. It's too big of a difference. Like I could do if there was like just Metro Town or something, but so many of the areas seem too realistic for a Mario game.
Right.
It'll be fun. I can't wait for it. I'm still going to play a crap ton of it, but the visual style just is so stark between Mario and the environments. It's kind of putting me off a bit, but
maybe it'll just be something to get used to, I guess.
Oh yeah,
because that game looks like it has all of the design work going into it. That it's going to be one of those Game of the Year contenders, I bet.
Yeah, it's going to have to do a lot to dethrone Persona 5. That's all I'm going to say for me.
So let's talk Smash, because I didn't cover it at the top, but I figured it's worth mentioning. Going into this direct, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Smash Brothers is in the tags and the featured game for the Japanese direct," and then they removed it. What's going on? Oh, 4chan had this thing that said a direct's going to be on the 13th, and it's going to be the new version of Smash, a totally new game, and it has all these dream newcomer characters somehow announced. No, not yet.
Smash is an E3 announcement to me. Like I just can't see them announcing a brand new Smash outside of E3.
Yeah, I don't think it's people are saying like if it's not announced here, it's never going to be announced, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. I'd still hold a flyer out for Nintendo World Championships when the last one came around, and you had all those different competitive games. It'd make a whole lot of sense to say, hey. Yeah. Smash 4 is coming to Switch, and here, play it now. That would be big. That would make a lot of sense, especially when it's going to be, it's going to be a big Twitch event. It's going to be on Disney XD. It's going to hit all those markets just right.
I was honestly more surprised we didn't see anything from the Wonderful 101 or the like Bayonetta or anything. Kind of with how Kamiya was tweeting out the event. And
he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
It's like, what? Nothing with that, but
that was interesting. See, and again, like I don't know if you got to see like a blog rundown or whatever of the Japanese event to see what was different, but yeah, I haven't looked into that yet. Just coming.
They did announce on the Japan feed that a new Europe like a style game, like a fashion style game, is coming to Europe and Japan, I believe, and then Japan is getting Phantasy Star Online 2.
Oh.
For Switch.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
Because Sega's like, screw you, West. We're still not going to give you Phantasy Star Online 2.
Wow. Very, very interesting. That's a big deal there.
But yeah, overall, I would have to say I would give it like a B-. It had, my big takeaway was Lens and Fire Emblem Warriors, and then the Project Octopath demo. Everything else was like, it's cool, but I was kind of expecting more, and Xenoblade did drag on, so
yeah,
not horrible. There's been a lot worse Nintendo Directs before.
Oh, that's for sure. And there's definitely more of a focus on, this latter part of the year, right? So it's a lot of things we already generally knew about. And I think our hope was like, well, in past E3s or Nintendo Directs, they're saying we've still got some surprises for you into 2018. And I guess, they did have that. I mean, Doom and Wolfenstein 2, like that's huge third-party support going forward for Switch. I hope more Western developers can get on that and see that, these games should be scalable to Switch. But so they're definitely focused on their key titles for the rest of this year. And it's been an amazing, and you got to think, it's only been 6 months for Nintendo Switch.
Right.
This is pretty remarkable. So
it's been a strong launch window for the Switch. With Splatoon and Zelda, of course, to launch with it, and Mario coming at the end of the year. You have RPG fans will have Xenoblade, and even the eShop and the digital content with Gunvolt and Mighty Gunvolt Burst and Blaster Master Zero. It's been strong on those ends too. I am hoping though that come November or early December we might get a Nintendo Direct that focuses only on like some cool surprises coming in 2018.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty necessary. You got to talk about the online infrastructure. You got to talk about, if they're doing an update that talks about, the video recording that was promised. If you're talking about Virtual Console, if you want to continue down the big path of, these monthly big releases, like, do you have a possible Smash game or Mario Maker coming out in maybe that first half of 2018? So, I think December would be a good time for here's a first quarter 2018 Direct. All right.
Definitely.
Well, Scott, thank you for tuning in and calling in so soon after the Direct. Anything you'd like to plug in particular? We can find you on Twitter at SolidSnake120.
You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SolidSnake120. I'll be streaming the new Metroid game starting on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Very exciting.
But that's about it.
Well, thanks for calling in. You have a great night, all right?
You too, Pete. Thanks for having me.
Joining us from New Jersey, Matt, welcome back to the PowerSwitch. You're on the road. How are you doing?
I am excited to be heading home at the end of a nice long day.
Yeah, it's certainly been that, capped off with the Nintendo Direct. What were your big takeaways from it?
Overall, pretty good Direct. My most important prediction, that there would be endless salt after the Direct ended, came true.
Definitely.
So,
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people really wanted Smash.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've gone on the record on this show saying I don't think a Switch port of Smash for Wii U was going to happen. And every time we go by without it being announced, I feel a little more sure about that.
It seems entirely possible the more it happens, that's for sure.
Probably objectively the biggest thing that we saw was Bethesda's all-in support of the Switch with both a port of Doom and the upcoming Wolfenstein. It's not even out yet. This is while Capcom's over here be like, oh yeah, we'll test the waters, see what's going to happen. And Bethesda's like, Skyrim's not even out yet. Let's do this. All in.
It's pretty amazing. I really did not expect that kind of support from a Western third party, but man, yeah, as you said, like games that aren't even out yet that, are scaled for, top of the line PCs that say, yeah, we can knock it down to Switch levels. Your move. So it makes me wonder. I mean, granted, these are games that are, first person. It only loads so much. So when we talk about something like Square Enix and people are saying like, what are they going to port? They're talking about, Final Fantasy 15. Are we just going to get that mobile version, or can they possibly make, Final Fantasy 15, the world itself work? I don't know if we can get, big open worlds with that kind of quality, but it's nice to see games like, first-person shooters like Doom, or Wolfenstein 2.
Given that Final Fantasy 15 is getting a mobile port, I would say that I'd be surprised if we go the entire lifespan of that game without ever seeing it hit Switch somehow. I think that was the one big surprise that I had regarding the Direct.
Likewise, yeah.
Everything else was more or less what I expected. I expected a release date for Xenoblade. I expected to see Mario Odyssey. I expected a gentle reminder that Samus Returns is coming out this week. I expected some B-tier games that looked pretty good, but ultimately wouldn't set the world on fire. and some desperate reminders that we're still supporting the 3DS, guys, I swear.
What's your take on Breath of the Wild and its DLC? Like not having that get a full rundown.
I assume that's coming out the same time as the Amiibo.
You'd think, right?
So,
but then why don't we hear anything about it?
Yeah, that's weird. Even though I didn't have it on any of my written down predictions, I did kind of expect to hear about that. I think what we're seeing out of the Amiibo still coming out, I'd say it's harder to delay physical products like that than it is DLC software.
Fair enough.
So
yeah.
maybe something's going on where the DLC is getting pushed back. I think that it is really bizarre that we would hear about those Amiibo, but not about the DLC itself.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're saving their own maybe little mini direct for it, that like, oh, the world and the story that we're trying to do is just too big, and we want it to have its own focus. Could be entirely possible, but I thought it was just a strange thing, kind of out of place.
Absolutely. Octopath actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how interested I'm in on that. The other three, I feel like I have the same opinion as I did before, but more.
Mm-hmm.
Like Xenoblade looks really cool. Mario looks really cool, and I really just don't care about Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I felt like Sun and Moon had like some inherent systemic problems with the design of the world, and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I can guarantee, aren't going to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that got the most reaction out of me was the Mario Party game that immediately disappointed because it's just a minigame collection.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool, but yeah, I mean, it makes so much more sense on Switch, like if you want it going forward.
I'm disappointed that there's no board game gameplay in it. Yeah, it'll be nice to see some of the good old mini games ported up to a nice new engine. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the Direct. There was no huge earth-shattering announcement, but I didn't think there would be. They really haven't had earth-shattering announcements in Nintendo Directs very often lately.
It does kind of seem that way, but they've kind of paced out all the big news out, so it seems. What would be your great takeaway from it?
Considering that the things that excited me most were the closer looks at games we already knew about, I'd say my biggest takeaway was the most surprising thing, being Wolfenstein 2.
Mm-hmm.
Big indicator of third-party support on Switch. If Nintendo can court other third parties as well as they've clearly courted Bethesda, then this system's going to do just fine.
All right, excellent. Well, Matt, we can find you on Twitter at GrimaceDoMinus. Anything you'd like to plug in particular?
What I'll plug, I haven't even watched this video, but just its sheer existence needs to be acknowledged. I saw an hour-long video. I don't even remember who it was that made it. If I find it, I'll send you the link. An hour-long video, a diatribe on the different gameplay styles of 3D Sonic games.
Wow. Does he say frickin' fricks in it, too?
I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, anyone that can talk for an hour. I watched like 10 minutes of the video, like legitimately making real reasoned points. So anyone that can keep that going on for an hour, by God, more power to you. That's
kind of amazing. Well, Matt, thanks so much for calling in. Travel safely. Mm-hmm. Thank you for calling in from the road. You have a great night.
You too.
And joining us from North Carolina, Demetrius, welcome back to the PowerSwitch. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. Your take on this Nintendo Direct?
I guess I was like really impressed because even though it was 45 minutes, I wasn't expecting much. And maybe I should have learned my lesson from the E3 presentation because I had tempered expectations for that too. Ended up blowing me away. I wouldn't say this one blew me away, but it was, I think I'll echo the sentiment that Bethesda bringing Doom and Wolfenstein to the Switch just caught me totally off guard.
Yeah, I was expecting something from Bethesda. I mean, kind of the rumblings that they were talking about, it sounded like they were going to do something. But, I think more people were just thinking, oh, let's reach back in their library a bit. Oh, what's a similar game on a similar kind of engine? Fallout 4, let's say something like that. I don't think they're expecting a game from 2016 and a game to still be released to be announced.
Yeah.
I really want to see the social media reaction, and not only that, the different game news website reactions as well, because I gotta say, like, that had to have been the big oh my goodness moment of that direct.
Yeah, if there was one, that was it. Don't get me wrong, I still think the best game shown, in my humble opinion, was Super Mario Odyssey, but it was kind of a known quantity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know that game's going to be great.
It's almost boring how great.
It's like, oh, ho hum, he's a dinosaur, he flies. Okay, not only a T-Rex, but he's a little pterodactyl. That's really cute. All right.
Like, it feels like I've gotten to a point where I just expect, like, the next thing I see is probably going to be something amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Zelda and Mario, it feels like that, yeah.
It was obviously going to be a great game, but that Bethesda support, it really caught me off guard. You could have proven to me that you could predict the future, like, unquestionably. You could have, like, the winning lottery tickets of the past 10 years and a crystal ball, and I would still not believe you if you told me we're going to get two Bethesda games, one of which isn't even out yet. Still, it's like it's an upcoming game that it'll be out a couple months when Switch owners have access to it, but Switch owners probably wouldn't have bought it since Mario Odyssey comes out the same day. So
now, I don't know if you saw the tease that they did on that headline rundown, which I think, when I first saw that and they tried to implement it, I wasn't the biggest fan. But I think the way they've done it now and the pacing that they keep moving through, and they don't spend too long on that screen. But it caught my eye, and it said, 2 iconic shooters coming to Switch. Yeah, and I'm like, what? Like, yeah, it totally came out of nowhere. Yeah.
Just the thought, like, what could it be? Like, I thought it was going to be a port of something old.
Are you going to call Call of Duty iconic? Like, and we're going to bring Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare to Switch.
Honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah.
I would have been disappointed.
Yeah.
But I would not have been surprised because people would call Call of Duty, especially like Modern Warfare 1 or 2, iconic shooters, quote unquote. But, aside from that, all four of the big games they showed looked at least good. My brother was freaking out over Octopath Traveler. He's a huge JRPG fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it looks. It just looks so pretty, and I like the battle system they have in it. Personally, I think I'm gonna play as Alaric. I think his name is pronounced.
The warrior, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just gonna challenge everyone in the game, like every single NPC. Just see how far I can get with that.
It's a great look, though, yeah, with that kind of pixel art, the 2D there, but how they've made it work with the 3D, I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's very, very, like, just visually pleasing to see, and it's got an interesting battle system, and I gotta download that demo.
Oh, definitely, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, ARMS is getting its update today. I think we discussed last time, ARMS not super populated anymore. But
yeah.
It's for Nintendo.
Not picking up as much as it should, but those updates help, yeah.
Yeah, those updates will help. I'm certainly getting back on it. I enjoy the heck out of the game. I don't think it's bad or not worthy of continued play. I just think it hasn't been updated enough. Remapping controls, yes. I don't know why that wasn't there to begin with. But now I can finally, like, I thought the motion controls are almost perfect, except for the fact that I had to use the motion controls to move.
Yeah.
And that's just fundamentally less precise because, folks using the Pro Controller, they can move on a dime.
Yeah, instantaneously. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me groan a little bit, too, when they were talking about, like, and it makes sense because it's a game all about flexibility. And, like, then why wasn't it at launch? Like,
exactly. Like, I see what you're trying to do, but it should have been there at launch. I can't think of a fighting game worth its salt that would not have that
right.
at launch, which is probably, you're already trying to sell people the concept of a motion control fighting game, and having played it, like I said, it worked just fine for the most part. but not allowing people to remap controls, not the best look. But I'm glad it's there now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll see if it can improve my experience even more. And Lola Pop has officially planted her flag in the waifu wars as well.
Yeah.
I still firmly get behind Twin Tail, so to speak.
Yep.
But, but it's always fun to have more competition.
Right, absolutely. Now, real quick before we wrap up, what's your take on Smash not being there?
I thought this might have been the one with those leaks going on. I thought we might have seen a port. The thing with Smash is it's gonna be great when it happens.
Yeah.
It may not be a port at all. That might be right, but it might be Smash 5 whenever it comes out. Nintendo has that. They can take their time with that. It's not like the Switch is anywhere close to desperate for games. Not even remotely close. So I can wait patiently for that. Maybe next E3, maybe later. Who knows? But you got Metroid on the horizon. You got Pokemon on the horizon. We got games coming. So whenever Smash Bros. Shows up, it'll be like icing on the cake, except it's like more like it's icing on the cake and it's another cake with icing on it. So,
yeah, it's a good time to be a Switch owner. So Demetrius, give me your grade on this Nintendo Direct here.
I think I agree with you on a B plus. I think you gotta reserve that A tier for things that have major megaton announcements.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein and Doom are big. Do not get me wrong. I was very impressed and shocked at seeing that. But those games already existed. We already knew that they exist, and I think a megaton kind of has a blend of surprise and size, I suppose.
Yeah, and we're tuning in to a Nintendo Direct for primarily Nintendo first-party announcements, so I definitely hear you there. But no, it was a really solid Direct overall. I liked the amount of content. I liked the breadth of it all, and the pacing during as I mentioned at the top of the show. Like it was really well done. Very impressed.
Very, very well done with the pace. That has been something that was just atrocious in some of the past Nintendo Directs. Even good Nintendo Directs might be paced poorly. Mm-hmm. So it was very nice to see. Still totally shocked we didn't get that any footage of that Zelda DLC though.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have something coming soon. Well, Demetrius, we can find you on Twitter at @D_Damone. Anything you'd like to plug?
Yes, I am. I still write for Culture of Gaming. My Destiny 2 review will be coming up this Friday for those who are interested. I also wrote an apparently extremely controversial article of Destiny: a broken game with broken promises. That got a lot of attention that I was not expecting. By all means, have a look, share your thoughts, hate me, but don't insult me, please.
Be respectful, of course. Yeah. So we'll share your works there in the show notes. We'll check that out. Demetrius, you have a great night. Thanks so much for calling in.
You too. It was great. It was great to be here.
So that'll do it. Thanks so much for calling in, everyone. A special episode here on the PowerSwitch when we can get to kind of react very much right after a kind of big conference, a huge surge of news. Anyway, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at the PowerSwitch. And basically, just make sure to join our Discord channel. That's really the biggest thing. rhymeswithasia.com/call is where we have these shows. I mean, these guys tuned in live, like right after the show, are able to call in, give their feedback, and you can do so too. But you can find us, of course, at Rhymes with Asia and on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher for those podcast sources. Stay tuned. Next weekend, this coming weekend, we'll have an episode here, kind of recapping the big week of news that's going to be, talking about, Apple and their big news with a surprising exclusive game, an industry figure leaving a big company. It's going to be a lot to talk about. So hopefully you join us there. Find us on Discord there at rhymestation.com/call, and of course Twitter at the PowerSwitch for all those news updates. With that, I am Peter Spezia. Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.